policy that spells out the committee. The committee is going to be made up of at least 20, or at the most 25 people, 13 of which will be ties to the community. 10 of those 13 are going to be a lottery system where 5 will be parents or guardians of students, what we call customers, and then the other 5 will be people who don't have aren't parents or guardians of anyone in the district. So we call that owners, right? And so anyone who wants to be considered will be put in. We will draw names for that. We're going to talk about it, but it's more than likely going to be next meeting. And we have it on the front of the district webpage. It's like one of the first things you see. You click here to learn more. And there's a video of, you get to look at my face for about 10 seconds is all. And then you'll be able to click on a link to put all your information in. Like 4 or 5 questions, you put your information in, it then will end up in the hat.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw in about the portables. I would say the portables, no matter what were needed, we don't have enough space, and so we decided to have 2 portables at Wahitas. They are being leased; they're not purchased, and plans are not for them to be permanent. The future of portables in this district, I would say, is 100% on our community and the taxpayers and what they want to support going forward. Details of that hopefully come out of this committee, and we know what our community wants to do in the immediate and then out 5 years future. Does that answer your questions? Don't think that's going to happen at every meeting, by the way.
So I was just going to say, hey, Tony, whatever you did to him, I appreciate, because we had a meeting somewhere else, and this is what I guess I was looking for when I started coming here 4 months ago or 5 months ago, was just a little feedback on what some of the questions were, if you could.
Yeah, I knew the answers to those. That's why I could answer it, and it fits into what we're in our agenda tonight, anyways.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you can apply online, or if you run into people that don't know how to apply online or whatever, they can come to the district office and fill out a hard copy as well.
And it's not just on a Facebook page, because I'm not on Facebook either. It's on the district website. And so, and yes, the district office, there'll be hard copy, or they can just go in and give their name, and that'll be put in. If there's any other ideas of how we can get the word out there, we're open to it.
So it is on Facebook also.
I
It's
have
on
yet-
Facebook.
I have yet to see it on Facebook. I've seen it on the
I've
webpage.
shared it on like 5 different sites.
I might have to get you as a friend.
Okay.
Sorry, Jen.
Okay,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
you bet. Thank you. Is there any other? Okay. All right, I'm going to refresh here, and if the board hasn't, please do that. Our next item is item B3, Student Representative Reports. Welcome back, students. Your first report of the year.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
They don't want to stay for your report.
That's okay.
What? Really? Glad you could dress up for it.
All right. Okay. Hi guys. So we're off to a great start this year. I want to thank Mr. Ashton for being our guest speaker at our opening assembly. The message was simple and direct. No senior will be left behind this year, and any student that wants to learn will learn with the help of our staff. So a big thing last year with our seniors was they didn't want to put in the effort, and so when it came to graduation time, they were a little peeved because they weren't going to graduate, but it wasn't anything that our teachers could really help with. So this year, it's a big thing is, making sure students that are wanting to learn and not just pushing them along until graduation. So that's a big thing this year is making sure our seniors are wanting to do the work, and if they're not, then they'll be moved into our night school program, and people who really want to be there and achieve something can be in our daytime program. So that was a really big thing. I also wanted to mention we have 3 students going to doing Running Start this year, which is really big for us. So that's awesome. I think that's first time in forever that we've had that. So it's really awesome. We do have a lot of new students this year. They all seem to be pretty eager and pretty willing to, put in the effort. So that's awesome because you never know with the new kids. But they're all doing really well so far, and they're pretty happy to be there. So it's nice to see. we are offering a Spanish class, which is awesome that you guys heard our need for that. And we also have fine arts, and a leadership class. So that's really awesome that we got some more teachers in there, and thank you guys for that. So what else? So last year we reached out to our night school students and saw who wanted to move up into our daytime program, and so they were able to come up. It's a little packed right now, but I think we're making it work, and it's nice to see that everybody really put in that effort to get back into our daytime program. So what else? Sorry, I'm talking really fast. Currently we have, so we had 4 students graduate this summer, 4 of which were the previous seniors that didn't get a chance to walk because they were behind on credits, but they went to summer school, got all their stuff done, and were able to graduate and get their diploma this summer. So that was really awesome. So we're gonna have like a ceremony for them, those who did graduate this summer, and it will be at Casa Mexicana. The date will be determined sometime this month. So you guys are all invited to that. And our front door is now locked. We got that system all up and running. So to get in, during the day you have to ring the bell, and Ms. Reno will let you in. It's only unlocked during lunch times and at the beginning of the day. And then we have an open house from 6 to 7:15 on September 6th, and you guys are all invited and welcome to come. So I think that is all I have.
September 6th, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
From 6 to 7:15. Any questions on anything?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you. So, Isabel, are you aware of the details of the committee and the student nomination part of it?
Oh, yes. Jen was telling me picture day, so I already had a couple students in mind, and I know Taylor did as well, so we already kind of have an idea of who we think would be really good for that. So I think she's going to handle the OHS students, and I'm going to handle DOHS. How many students were you wanting again? Just 2?
So
Or-
the committee's written up that there will be two students that will be nominated by the student representatives.
Okay.
I would just say, and I'm sure you know this, I just want to reiterate that there's been a few things that I've been encouraged to be on. The board, one of them, where it was really understated how much commitment it was.
Okay.
And so just be really honest about, it could be a big commitment,
Okay.
and we're looking for people who really can say, no, I can make the time to do this, and have some passion about it,
Okay.
about the idea of the facilities going forward.
Is there a certain age that you guys would want, like sophomore, junior, or probably not a
I don't think
senior?
the policy
'cause-
states.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I'm all good.
Seniors would have opinions too, I think.
That's true, but I mean they're leaving this year, so how long would the?
If a bond's passed, everybody, probably most of the seniors, most of the high schoolers are gonna be gone by the time the school's built anyway, so I'm not sure that
Matters. Okay. So
Unfortunately, it takes time to get all that stuff done.
yeah. So okay.
Yes.
All right, okay, so I have the report for OHS. And we don't have quite as many super exciting things going on as she does, as they are starting out. But we do have some upcoming events. So this Friday we have our assembly, our welcome back assembly. The leadership class is working very hard to get that up and running. We are gonna have special performances. We're gonna have the cheerleaders, the band, the drill team. We're gonna have a lot of really fun, jam-packed things going on. So this Friday we also have football. It's the first game versus Connell in Connell. Leadership is also working on getting a rooters bus, so we're really trying to amp that up so we can get people to really get the school spirit. So also on Friday, our varsity volleyball team is leaving to Alaska to compete there as a tournament. So on Saturday, that's when volleyball competes. They fly out on Friday. And then we also have our band has their very first parade in Ellensburg. So fingers crossed that goes really well. We are going to be missing a lot of people, and it's going to be rough. All right, so we have 3 foreign exchange students this year. We have, I believe, 2 juniors and 1 senior. We have Mariam. She is from the Republic of Georgia. She's also in our leadership class. Miriam, so there's 2 of them, slightly different. She's from Italy, and she is going to be a junior as well. And then we have Johanna from Sweden. She's a senior. And I believe Johanna's staying with the Wilsons. I don't know if this really matters, but Mariam is staying with the Hansons, and Miriam is staying with the Wilson. No, Miriam's staying with the Jones, sorry. So we have, those are the upcoming events we do have. We are waiting on our new leadership teacher slash PE teacher to get back from her quitting of her job. I don't remember. But we do have that, and I believe that is all we have so far. I'll have more updates next meeting because I'll be in school longer. Do you guys have any questions about any of it?
No, great.
Thanks, Taylor.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to item B4, board member reports. First one, as always, is Director Stevenson. First two for you this time.
Yep, I get two. So legislative report, I do not have any new specifics, but for our linkage meeting, I have contacted 16 different congregations, and gotten confirmation from 3 yeses, 2 maybes. And so I might be missing a church or two. I don't know if you want me to go through all of these out loud.
Sure.
Okay.
Is there any secret ones or something?
No, no, none of them are secret.
Okay.
But if I don't want to miss someone,
If you
just
miss
in
someone,
case.
maybe they're listening and they can call you and say they want to come.
Sure, yes, or you might be aware of one that I'm missing. Apostolic Assembly, their number has been disconnected, so I don't know how to reach them. Bethel Spanish, First Baptist, Sacred Heart, Christian Church, the Church of Christ, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Foursquare Church, Lutheran, Nazarene, Presbyterian, Seventh-day Adventist, Gethsemane Pentecostal, and Mennonites. So those are all of the different congregations that I've contacted. Am I missing any?
One right by the school there, and you might have mentioned it. Harvest Church, is that what they call it?
Foursquare is the same name,
Gotcha.
I think.
No, there was Grace Harvest that was at the corner of 7th and.
Okay, so they're not in the,
They are no longer
okay.
Gotcha.
meeting. But there is another,
There's
I
another,
believe, Hispanic group that meets there in the evenings that's using the church. I don't know what they call
okay,
themselves.
and I know that there's another Baptist church that recently opened in the last 6 months or so that's not First Baptist. And I don't know. So what I did is I looked in the phone book, and then I did an internet search for churches and Othello and went through like 3 or 4 pages worth. And that's how I picked up a couple more. But I don't have, I know I'm missing some though, because we have so
There-
many.
There isn't an association, the Ofellow Minstrel Association.
That
That
really
you would-
only has like 4 or 5 people in it, and I've hit them.
Okay.
I've got all of, most of those people have called me back, actually. So, and I just left messages, or if I know them personally, then I
So
Facebook
there's-
stalked them.
They're specifically contacting you, then you give them your information to get back to you.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I did.
Any
So,
comments or questions from the board on this item?
So that's going to be September 10th at 6.
6 o'clock?
mhm.
So would the plan be to have it here then, in the boardroom? or do we
I've
wanna
been
do it
telling them
something
here.
different?
I hope so.
Perfect.
And it's gonna be,
I was told
Cookies
them
and
very
coffee and
specific, 6 to
informal.
7, right. And then I want them to bring answers, questions, concerns, thoughts, that we're not doing a presentation, we're just having a very informal, open to them, having conversations and discussions. So come with ideas, or at least open to conversations.
Jen, I can think of a couple. Do you want them to contact you? Or
Yes,
I'll try to get you their numbers. I don't know them off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I'll give them your information.
perfect. Thank you.
okay,
And
good
then
work, Jen, and so,
we have plans to make sure that's announced because it is a public meeting.
Yes.
Do you want me to contact Oursland Mrs. Auersland and ask her if her class will do cookies or
I thought it was a great idea.
someone else to contact her? Okay, I'll call her.
Yeah.
All right.
Whose idea was it? Okay, you got.
Well, because they're cookies. And I like cookies.
Who doesn't? Okay, thank you, Jen. The next item, format of school site visits. So I've included the format of the Hiawatha visit, which was our last one. And I think this really was indicative of our visits last year. So I wanted to ask the board so that Dr. Hurst can pass it on to admin. Do we want to stick with that kind of format? I know we had talked at the board retreat about possibly changing the format of our visits. So I just want to get the feedback from the board on that.
I think unless we give specifics as to which kind of students or like a makeup of students that we wanted to visit, I think that this pretty much hits. I mean, this is very specific about which classrooms we're going to visit. I don't know if that is the necessity, but
Well, this was just the agenda from that. So I just kind of
Right.
giving an example of what
Okay.
would look like, what it looked like last year. Times and those kind of things.
My personal feeling is that the board meeting with staff can be construed as the board circumventing the superintendent as the employee's boss. I've mentioned it before. I personally would prefer that the board considered having us observe at a meeting that the district runs. The teachers can ask questions to the district leaders, and we can just use that as an evaluation tool for Chris. Would be my personal preference, instead of going and having them ask the board questions. And we really, Chris is the one that, they're his employees. We only employ Chris. And so sometimes I think it muddies the line, meeting with teachers like that. My personal feeling.
Is the rest of the board's thought on Tony's comments?
I think we need to be considered approachable. And I mean, if it's, and almost every meeting that I've been to of these site visits, it's explained. We do policy, we're not operational. I think that we need to be seen as approachable and reachable.
I guess my frustration is we explain that, and then invariably, within 2 questions, it's operational, and we're just deflecting questions and having the admin team answer the questions anyway. As far as approachable, I agree. That's why I think we should go as board members and be in the audience with everyone else. And if you want to sit by somebody, you're more approachable sitting by a teacher than you are up front in any way. But it gives you a chance, as a board, it gives us one more way to evaluate the superintendent objectively, because we're just like a superintendent evaluates, or the principals evaluate teachers by going into classrooms and looking at instruction. We're basically evaluating the superintendent in a meeting where he's answering to his staff. that
Well,
way.
To clarify, that would be an opportunity for the board to get direct inspection that might tie
Correct.
back to one of the ELs
Correct.
or even ends. Just to clarify that we wouldn't be like writing evaluation after that meeting or anything like that.
No, I would just,
But
it's
for
just
the
one more
public.
point.
I know you know that, was just for the public who are listening.
Yeah, and like I say, when I went, I've really not went there for evaluation of the staff or anything else, but I've heard a lot of appreciation from the staff too, displayed at these meetings, and it's good for us to hear that, because I've been very appreciative of the work that's been done and so on. So I don't mind it the way it is.
What do you think, Mike?
I think it'd be interesting, because if I'm not mistaken, it was, in the past, there was hesitancy to speak because the district was there. And that's kind of why we went away from it. But as an evaluative tool, there could be some merit to that, and perhaps there is no comment or no questions to admin, and it turns into the same thing and they'll ask us something, so I think it's worth trying.
Make me be the tiebreaker. So tell me, I guess I'm gonna ask a couple questions. What did we get from meetings with staff last year that we couldn't have gotten through conversations with staff on our own? What did we get as a board, as a whole, that actually drove some policy decisions for us? Can we think of anything?
I can't think of any specific policy that was changed because of site visits last year. However, is that the only reason why we're going to the schools, is to change policies? I guess is my
What is the purpose of the site visits then? I guess I'll throw it back and say, what do we feel our purpose of site visits is?
I personally use it as direct inspection on ELs and ends policies myself, but I use it as a point of reference.
And also, it's just not a time, it's a time to show the rest of the district that the board ain't going to work just from behind this desk here. It gives us an opportunity to make our presence in the schools, to let them know that we are here.
To let them know, to see that we are actually
To see that
seeing
we're
what's
active,
going on
that
in the
we're-
schools.
Yes. that
So
we're
it kind of ties into the direct inspection,
Yes.
I would say.
Yeah, and that's, I guess what I'm getting at, Ken, is I feel like you accomplish the same purpose by having the meeting, having the board there, and having the district run it. The only difference is to me, 3/4 of the questions that get asked are operational, and the whole time the board's saying, I don't know, Chris, can you answer that? And then Chris has somebody on the team that knows, answer the question. If anything, I feel like the teachers feel like possibly that because board members are there and they ask a question, that things get done faster. I personally don't believe that's true, but I think there's probably a perception of that. If they ask for something, when the board's there, that it's gonna happen faster. But again, the same purpose happens if the board's in the room. The board doesn't have to be fielding the questions and directing the flow to have the same thing happen from my view. But that, and it just comes really from my perception anyway, that well over half the questions get deflected to the admin team when we're there. I can think of 10 to 1, just easily off the top of my head, questions that we were deferred from. We don't have enough paper to we don't have enough Chromebook power cords to.
They may be, but it's still the board making a presence.
And the board's gonna be there.
So,
So it's not that we're not gonna be present, I don't think. I'm still gonna go and be there.
So I actually had a conversation with a teacher today when I was picking up my kids at school, and one of them said, there were a couple there that I was talking to, and one of them actually said, it would be good, because I said, I need to go and meet these new teachers that I don't know yet, and that they're my children's teachers. And she said it would be really good to know when it's appropriate as a teacher to go and talk to a board member and when it's not. And when is that just something that I just need to go to my administrator about, and those kinds of things. And I said, yeah, that's a great question.
Did you tell them the answer?
She already knew the answer. I think she was referring to others that didn't know the difference.
My answer would be is always come to a board member first if you want to. And then if it's something that's shouldn't be at my level, then I redirect them to wherever they should be. So I would tell people it doesn't hurt to, whatever the question is, it's not like you're gonna get punished for coming and talk to a board member about something. Because if it's something that I shouldn't be handling, I'm gonna redirect it to the principal or to whoever it's supposed to be anyway. Same as I would do with a parent.
Right.
I don't
And
think
this
you'd
was
want to
kind of one of
discourage
those,
anybody from coming and talking to board members.
how to get teachers to be more comfortable with the parent that happens to also be a board member, kind of I think is where this discussion specifically was going. But yeah, And we talk about that later today, definitely.
So with the question, and you might answer that, maybe I just didn't pick up on it. What do you think the purpose of our visits are?
I think we need to be present in the schools and approachable, and that's, that for me goes hand in hand with direct inspection. The linkage has always been a problem, and it's partially linkage, it's partially direct inspection, and there's a whole bunch of it. And some of them don't know who we are. We need to make that visible.
So,
And that's why I was just gonna mention linkage, it's also linkage.
so I want to ask, I was thinking about the linkage thing. And I was actually thinking about the president speaking at the all-staff meeting. And I started thinking about the appropriateness of that, really, because that is to staff. And our policies say that we will link with our community. Not that the staff is not our community, but in that setting, the staff is the employee of the superintendent in the district. And so I was questioning the appropriateness even of that. And so are we going to link with employees? Or is our purpose to link with the community through other means? And if employees who are also community members want to come be part of those linkage opportunities, they could be. That's a question that I was asking myself.
But the problem is that most of the timelines make it so that employees can't be at the parent meetings. And sometimes we've seen like EAs trade off so that they can come and be at the parent portion of the meetings. But for the most part, we don't have those that are employees in any position come to the parent meeting at each of those site visits because they don't have the timing. They can't.
So would you rather change our times to later, so we're doing it at the end of school day instead of the beginning? If that's a concern.
I don't think that, well, I don't know about if that would work for parents. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, maybe it would be worse.
There's no time that's gonna work for every parent.
No, there's not.
See, and this particular one, I know it won't work out with the rest of them, it may, but this is a good opportunity to go over the new policy 6.1 with staff. Of course, we're asking for a representative from every school, so, which is nominated by their peers at the schools. So I think that would be a great opportunity and great time to maybe discuss 6.1 and what the board would like to see come out of that committee and stuff. in the
If they
future.
haven't already picked it.
My
By that
hope
time?
is that that's already done, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Right.
That the admin has already shared that, got the nomination and got them back, but yeah, I mean,
What's the date
I
of the
think-
first meeting, Mr. President? Do you know? Is Hiawatha first? Is that why this is?
Yes, Hiawatha is
that's-
next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
the fifth,
The
right?
4th?
Fourth.
Okay.
So, so, Mike, what is your impression or interpretation of what our purpose of our board visits are?
To me, it's to show that we're there for the right reasons, to show that we're available. And I think the format we're utilizing does both those things. But listening to Tony, there's also, it is redundant because most of the questions are deflected anyway. Sitting next to a teacher, like Tony says, I don't know if that frees them up to be open to ask their questions to the board member anyway, may or may not. There's some redundancy in it because, again, most of the questions are Chromebook chargers that gets pawned off anyway. But to me, the purpose of the visit is to make ourselves visible and available. Hopefully, they're listening tonight, and if they don't know that we are readily available, they can know that we are. But that's to me, that's the reason why we go there. Just our visible presence and people to know that we're in the know of what's going on. If there's something that we don't know about, is there opportunity, I think, when we meet with staff, to notify us of that. But it would be interesting at the same time, like I said, to see what the interaction with the admin team would be. I think I'm still gonna pull for that.
We have 25 minutes scheduled for that. What if we do 15 and 10 and split it up and do the first 15 minutes where the administration runs the meeting, and then the board can come up at the end and ask if they have any questions directly to the board.
Sounds like
Do a
win-win to me.
compromise, get the meeting moving here.
Getting a bunch of
I'm
nods.
good with that.
Okay, that's a good compromise. I was just gonna say, leave it alone, and we can always change it on future ones, but, maybe, what if we just kept that as, the board observes the meeting of the superintendent with the staff, and then if they only have questions for 5 minutes, then we could always then turn it over to the board asking questions, but, and the idea is that we
Balance
want
of
at
the
least
time.
10 minutes at the end of that 25 to be able to, in this case, probably share information about our committee. Okay? And
I-
how about the rest of them? Are we, I mean, that's just, what was one item in there?
I think the rest of the items are important, the way that they are.
My only other, I like to change stuff, I guess. I like the parent meeting. The student meeting, I'd prefer that the board gave direction to the school and said we want, and to be more intentional of saying, we want you to pick these students that we want to meet with instead of, after being on the board for a long time, I guess, there's some students that in the 5 years we've done it, I've seen those students every single year. And I know the school's bigger than that, out of those 15 kids. And so to me, it'd be, I think, good for the board too, to give direction and say, this year, we want to talk to EL1 students, whatever we want to do. I'm just throwing something out there. I'm not saying that's the one, but we want to talk to 10 students that are in this classification, these ages, and be more intentional on who we talk to, so that my hope would be is that it would help us to see a broader spectrum of students. And we're putting more pressure on us as the board. It's our meeting, less pressure on the principal to figure it out, more on us.
I don't know what Hiawatha did last time. I know there was a couple of classes.
It was
I
fourth
think it
grade.
was Fourth,
We saw
Yes.
fourth grade last year
but
at Hiawatha.
it was a great group of kids. They had some really tough questions, and it felt like they were putting us on the spot, or at least me. I felt like I was on the spot with one of the questions, and I thought it was great. I thought interacting with them, it was really, really good.
Taylor, you're welcome to come to these exciting meetings too with the students.
Yeah, I was wondering, can I be a part of this?
It's
We
up to-
encourage it.
We encourage it, but it's up to your, whatever your schedule is with your class and
Yeah.
your teachers. And in the past, the principal has been supportive of not counting you absent if you come to those.
I would love that.
But I do know last time we caught Hiawatha, they were in testing. There was a bunch of
Right, because
kids
they
that
were the
in
last
testing.
school last year.
So
Right,
that's why I
so-
think we're selected, but it would be nice to have a larger range of grades.
Right.
So I'm not sure I got a good feel for if you like Tony's idea or not. You like to meet with the
I
students,
would like to meet with the students. you
but
know.
I think he was saying that we would like choose the eight.
I think it'd be
maybe a s-
wonderful for Tony to be very selective about who we visit with.
We have to do that as a board. We have to make that decision as a board.
Well, we'd still approve or not approve his list, a
What's gonna happen
proposal.
tonight if we approve this idea, so it's our last meeting before we
Right.
visit.
And then back to just site visits in general, we have never visited with preschool. And preschool is all in one location this year. Surprise. And so I think that meeting with preschool would also, I mean, I know that it's not currently scheduled, but I think that that would be valuable.
All that would take is a proposal to rewrite our agenda, our annual calendar, Jen.
Okay? So find a month that I can squeeze that in, is what you're saying?
Yep. And then bring it back.
Make that proposal change. Okay.
Mike, what are your thoughts on?
What was your
Student.
thoughts were that I picked
Yes.
the student?
Right. It's always been your idea, and I think it's a great idea, but go for it. You need to make that proposal change.
It'll take me all of about 3 seconds.
Go for it.
Mike,
I like to
Anything?
hear Tony, sure.
what is your suggestion for students that we meet?
My suggestion is that we meet with a cross-section of students from all grade levels that are is it EL one? That are
ELL students. You talking about
ELL
level one, ELL
Level
students?
one, ELL. And they may need some help with some translation.
So I would ask, what would you hope to gain from that?
Just because they're a section of kids that we haven't met with since I've been on the board directly.
I don't know if that answered my question.
To gain?
Yeah.
Just to link with students, just like we would any other way.
Okay.
If we're linking with students, it's no different than linking with any other students that we've linked with as far as the purpose. As customers, right?
So I'm getting one nod,
Sure, yes.
two.
Yes. I'm still thinking out loud.
Well, it's only three
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah,
Ken, so
Yeah, you got three
doesn't
already.
matter.
Everything's a
that-
pilot. I'm
Yeah.
not saying for all the
Yeah.
visits. I'm just trying this
So
one to see how it goes.
specifically for this visit, it looks like we want to meet with ELL students from each grade level that are level one. How many?
However many we've
One.
had.
I
10
think
to
it's
We've had in the
15?
past.
I think
10
it's
to
very-
15, it depends, every school's been different.
I would say,
There's 7
we're
grades.
talking about 7 grades, I think
So-
one from each would be enough for me.
Yeah, one or
Get more
two.
than that, it tends to get a little wild.
Mhm.
Are you really interested in the kindergartners and the first graders?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am. I don't know what the rest of the board is.
K1?
It's always a good thing to try one time and then go, yeah, that didn't work, or that was amazing. We can always evaluate it after.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like based on this, we're gonna start at 7:30 like usual. First meeting will be with staff. The beginning of that meeting will be superintendent, have a discussion with staff, and then the second part of that will be board. The board will be driving the discussion. Then we'll meet with parents as usual. Then we'll meet with students, and that will be specifically ELL students, level 1, from each grade level. Then the board will have the classroom visits and then debrief. Same as before?
Just one other question. A question for the board. As far as notifying parents at this meeting, again, I guess I'm gonna go back from the perspective that it's really it's the board's meeting, it's the board's job to do these kind of things. We can always delegate it to the superintendent, I suppose. But I was wondering if there's any other ideas from board members of ways we can notify parents besides what we've done in the past. We've got decent participation, not great. I don't know if a personal invitation from like a personal written letter from the board president asking people to come.
Tony loves just giving me more work. He just
I-
loves it.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's effective. I don't think, no offense, Rob, but no, I don't think
None
a
taken.
letter is gonna be effective.
A video, email.
Maybe I'll do a
board-
lip sync to a long song.
Right, lip sync challenge.
Something
yes.
different. I mean, I just feel like that attendance hasn't been great, to be honest.
Sometimes we tend to blame ourselves or lack of trying on attendance, and I'm not sure that's always the reason.
Well,
What if we
my
made-
version in the past is we've said, okay, principals, call some parents and invite them.
Sometimes they do an all call, sometimes they send home a letter, and sometimes they have called, and sometimes they've done all three, because I have kids at many schools, and I've gotten all
Which I guess
kinds of
is my
different
issue.
versions.
My feeling is that direction should be coming from the board, not you guys figure it out and every school does it different. and-
Right, so what if we made a sign and had it up at that school for a week before the visit, inviting parents, so that but not everyone's a drop-off kid or a walk kid. I mean, that's another way that's never been done before. That we could change that part.
I'm just all for consistency. What I'm afraid of is the parent visits are newer for me, we haven't done them as many years as we've done school visits. What I don't want it to turn into myself is we're meeting with the same 5 parents who are really active, and so the principal sees them every day, and so then we just meet with the same people every single year.
So for the sake of time, because we're spending a lot more time on this than I expected, why don't we just tell Dr. Hurst the ways that we want him to notify the parents, and we'll try it and see how it works. And then it'll be the same format for each school site.
Hot air balloon letters that come floating down with chocolate money in them.
Why is it always chocolate with you?
Because everything's about chocolate and quilting and
Okay.
fabric.
Can
Now
the
that you're
all,
helping a lot, but making this go faster, Jen, thank you.
can the all call system that's in place right now be just singled out for like Hiawatha
Mhm.
parents?
Yes.
I
They
think
do
that
by
would
school.
be-
that, but
Yeah.
the
just by
problem
school.
that I hear from parents is they get so many calls that they don't even get to the end of that one to know that it was a parent meeting. They erased it. before
But
they
is
got
that
it.
our fault? That's what I struggle with, is that our fault?
I didn't say it was our fault.
What
But
can we do to change that, though?
We can
Don't-
ask the
we can
parent
use a
group to,
different
if they
venue.
have an email or another way of contacting, to do it as well, and invite as well. That hasn't been done, I don't think, in the past.
I'll do a Spanish video and we'll put it on our.
Okay, come on, can we really give some direction here? And
How effective
Move
is the
on.
PTA at Hiawatha?
Pretty
And then-
effective.
Okay,
I've heard differing stories.
so,
Kidding.
As the former PTO president, thank you, Rob.
I think that's a great idea, if you get the PTA to try to encourage people.
That's an O there.
PTO.
They have a
I
PTO.
apologize.
And I will talk to that president tomorrow and ask if she will do that.
Okay, so I think going out on the messenger is important. We call that Blackboard now? is
Yes.
that?
The
And
reader
then
board,
Reader board, PTO.
some schools do that.
Tony, what's your specific idea?
I didn't say I had a specific idea.
I'm making you have a specific idea. Putting you on the spot.
Have my specific idea?
For communication, there's one idea to communicate with parents.
Yeah,
The
well,
information.
the blackboard would be done by the board president instead of somebody else.
I already came up with Blackboard, you had to come up with something else.
I like the blackboard idea, I just don't like the computerized
Just modifying
message,
it to be the
so that
board
it's a message from the
president.
board president that doesn't normally
Or,
come.
or someone delegated by the board president.
I'd prefer as a board member. I'll do it if you want me to do it, but I think it's different if it comes from a board member than just another message from the same person that
Okay.
they get every
Mhm.
other day. It's usually a computerized person anymore,
There's some celebrity feel to it, I get it, yeah.
especially if you do it.
Yeah, right.
I heard the links
Ken?
of your videos off the
use
chart.
yours. Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know if it's already being done. Does each school send a letter to each parent? I don't know if that's one of the stuff.
Flyers.
Okay.
Is
Along
that
with the
done
kids.
universally, or is that just up to the principal to decide?
We've been instructing every principal to do the flyer. We typically do the reader board, the flyer, the text, and the voicemail that goes out.
So basically, we're gonna do the same we have, except we're gonna also get PTA and PTO involved.
And the president's gonna
We also do Facebook.
give the
I heard that
message.
from one board member, that was it.
I ditto on the Tony idea there.
To delegate, okay. All right, we're moving on.
You could do it in English and Mike could do it in Spanish as the vice president. Great.
That would be interesting.
It segregates, right? Blackboard sends it out in Spanish to the Spanish-speaking homes.
No, it usually goes English then Spanish.
Or does it do it both? It doesn't,
Right.
it doesn't just send it out in Spanish to the Spanish-speaking homes? Or does it do it all twice?
You can.
It sends it to the Spanish speaking in just Spanish.
That's what I thought.
Okay, the next item on here. This is Tony's item, so, Tony, we're already negative 10 minutes behind.
Sounds
if
like
you
bad
click on it-
management of time.
You'll get a link to the WASDA site. This is, was brought up about the WASDA Board of Distinction. Tony wanted to talk about it. So go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, they just, WASDA is always asking for boards that are well-run to apply for the Board of Distinction. It's an award. It's has nothing to do with policy. It has more to do with our board being recognized. And when our board's recognized, just like our students are recognized, it makes Othello recognized, and it's just another point of recognition for the school district. That Othello is a real place, and we have a real board that does real things. And so I personally would like the board to consider applying for the Board of Distinction that's awarded at the WASDA meetings.
Does this take something from each board member, or is it just someone from the board completes an application process?
I believe that the president has to do it.
You are full of it. I think what I'm hearing, board, is that Tony's asking us permission if he could put in an application for this board, for Board of Distinction.
That would work.
So what's the board feel about that?
Great idea.
Good.
All right. Tony, you have our permission.
Thank you.
Next one. If you click on that, it'll take you to our policy. So this is just two things I wanted to bring up regarding our new policy for the committee that's being formed. The first one, I think the impression was I was able to talk to each board member about this, but the impression I think originally was we were hoping to kind of solidify the members of the committee today, but being that short a notice and really getting things rolling, I think I got the feedback I got was, let's wait till the next board meeting. We have the opportunity to call a special board meeting just to draw names if we want to. But the video just went out that hopefully people will link to it more, and we'll get some more people that are interested. Do we have a number right now of how many community members have filled out or have asked to be on it?
12 individuals total.
So there's 12 total. I think in some conversations we had, the board felt like 10 and 10 is what we'd like to have at least. 16? Okay. Now,
Is
whether or
that
not,
16 between parents and community members combined?
And staff.
Okay.
okay, so does staff not know that they're nominated?
Each
They're not
school
aware of
site, the way the policy's written, each school site will nominate their own staff person, so that.
Do you know?
And I assume that would be coordinated by the superintendent, but.
I can work on that piece.
Yeah, so maybe we want to let staff know that they will, I mean, it's in the policy, but their part is going to be through nomination. The ones that we're going to be doing through lottery are strictly 5 will be.
Can you talk into the mic? When you turn to talk to him, you can't hear it in the mic, and then YouTube land doesn't get anything.
We need new mics, I think. Seriously, I'm not kidding about that. If our mics are so bad that I can turn my head and no one can hear me, we need new mics. 5 will be what we consider owners, and that would be someone who is not the guardian or parent of a child in the school district. And then 5 will be what we consider customers that have a parent or a guardian or parent of a child in the school district. We're all clear on that, right? So we're hoping for 10 who are put in consideration for each of those 2 categories. Is that
So-
clear? Did I make that very clear? Do you think
10
that's what
total
we're
of
talking
5
about?
from each of those groups.
We're gonna choose that, but we want 10 to
Right.
choose from, we're hoping at least.
Okay,
For each group.
Yeah.
okay, I understand what you're saying.
So we have now 2 more weeks to try to get those numbers. And also for the school sites to make their nominations, for admin to nominate the,
Yeah, from my view, all the nominations except for the ones that are lotteries should already be drawn before the next board meeting, from my view.
well, before I hope. I hope the only thing we're left with are those 10.
Then-
And the board.
And I think the board should do their nominations
Well,
tonight.
we have an
myself.
opportunity to do that
Okay.
whenever we want.
The thing that I did notice about when you click on the link from either the website or the Facebook page, each computer is only allowed 1 recommendation nomination.
Oh, it's set up where IP addresses won't let you nominate?
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem with that is if you have someone who's just nominating all their friends.
But if there's 2 parents in that home and there's 1 computer, sometimes that is the computer.
Cell
So-
phones, you can do it from separate, from cell phones too, I think so.
So,
But that's a good point.
The idea of it, though, is not for you to nominate someone else, it's for whoever's applying
Right,
to
but what I'm-
nominate themselves, right?
yes, but what I'm saying is, you know, if there's only 1 computer or 1 phone in the home or something along those lines, and both parents want to be in there, or if there's a grandparent in the home as well, that's not the parent or guardian of the child, then
Yeah.
you're
There's still,
limiting how many.
To me, it doesn't
still an
matter. I
option to
don't-
come to the district.
Is there
site
an
or
option to
district and do it.
unlink that?
Yes,
I
there is
assume
an
that-
option.
I assume that if maliciously somebody nominates somebody who didn't actually request to be on the committee, they'll let us know and we'll have to draw somebody else's name, right? I don't see any
It's
big
probably a
deal.
good idea to have a backup anyways
I
when
think
we
we're-
draw.
That was one thing I'll be mentioning next, that we probably should draw a couple, that in case someone says, I forgot
Couple
about something I had to
alternates.
do and I can't commit.
But
Couple alternates.
to me, if there's a way to uncheck it so that you can have more than 1 person nominated from an IP address, to me, that's inconsequential. It's not like a survey results where we're trying to limit somebody from obtaining the survey.
It's just a
Yeah.
setting, it can be unchecked.
So do
It
you
doesn't matter
want,
either way.
do you want us as student representatives, because you know you guys wanted us to nominate a couple people, do you want us to go through that process, or is this a completely different nomination process?
The only lottery system is the parents
Okay,
and community members. Everything else, all the other community members are done by nomination.
okay,
And so you and your fellow student rep, the idea is that you'll compile the names of all the students that want to do it, and then you guys are gonna nominate the 2.
Okay,
You're gonna
so-
choose them.
okay, so then we just come to you guys and say, just say this person wants to do it, that kind of thing?
Mhm.
Awesome, okay, just want to clarify.
Okay. The other thing was, I was contacted actually by Jennifer Garza, who just brought up the fact that the preschool, there was nothing in the policy about the preschool representation, because it said 7, there was 7 sites.
It doesn't say 7 in here.
Just says 1 each.
I believe in the board
school site.
meeting, there was,
I think
That was
you add
mentioned
the
in the
numbers,
meeting.
it could consider 7 though.
well, yeah, I guess so, as long as you fill out the other ones exactly right.
So the question was, what does the board think about that? What's the interpretation? Is it that in our minds, was the preschool one of the sites in that discussion?
You know, I believe it should be, because the preschool is a very valuable place, and this decision is going to affect them too in the long term. And I think they need representation in that too.
So
If
how does the
it's-
preschool run? Is it run by its own principal? Does it have its own name? I'm not 100% clear on that.
It
I
does have
realize
its
it's all
own,
in McFarland, but does it run as as a school within the school? They don't talk to the principal that's there now, or?
you can speak more to that, but they do run as a separate entity. We just received our own code, building code, more for auditing purposes. I think you can probably have, Jennifer, can you come and speak a little bit more to that? Sure. About how the preschool is run?
So the preschool, like Dr. Hurst mentioned, does have its own.
Can you turn, I think that's not on, is it?
It's
Oh,
on.
it is on? You just got it
Okay, I'll talk
close.
louder. So it is its own entity, so it is recognized by the state as an early childhood center, and then under that falls the school name is OSD Preschool. And it doesn't have its own principal, but it has Jennifer Garza as its director. So that staff all reports to me, and I meet with them. I do all the things a principal does, I just don't have the title of principal over the school. I have the title of director.
I'm personally okay with it. It doesn't matter to me.
It sounds like I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
So do we need to
And,
change a policy then to make that 26?
For me, I don't think we need that at this point, but we could change it if it ends up being 26.
I'm not following you. Based on the numbers, did it will add up to 26, and it says no more than 25.
It will add up to 26, assuming that every one of those sections is full, correct?
Okay, so you want to wait and do that rather than just do it?
It doesn't matter to me. We could do it now, but if it ends up being 25, are we gonna, I mean, it's just.
Either way, Jennifer, I think your question's been answered, that there's going to be representation, so.
Okay, so
You'll
would
need to get
I nominate that
nomination.
person? Okay,
Well, they're
Well,
nominated by
then-
their peers
Yeah,
actually.
right,
Nominated by
that's
the
right, yeah.
peers.
okay, thank you.
I think then
And
you
we
would be
probably should have
considered
been
one of the site
clear-
administrators that could be nominated by your peers,
Oh, okay.
if that's.
We
that's-
probably should have been clear in the process of it's not that somebody nominates somebody else, that our intention was is that all that group gets together and really they're voting their representative, right?
Well, we have an opportunity to be clear about it right now.
Yeah, my impression of that's what we were doing, and maybe there's some confusion as to what nominated means, and you end up with 20 teachers that are nominated from scrutiny by other teachers, and then we have to choose from them. That wasn't my impression was it was,
Maybe rather than nominated, you say chosen.
yeah, and maybe that was a poor choice of words looking back. Because basically, when the board does it, we're gonna nominate, a board member's gonna nominate another board member, and then the board's gonna vote on it, right? And that's kinda, in my mind, how that
And
would
that says
work.
about the majority of the board, yeah.
And in my mind, that's what when I wrote the policy,
Intended.
that's what I intended. Not that we get a list of 20 teachers from each school site that are nominated by their peers.
Is that
and
the
then
way the
we
rest
have
of the
to
board
choose.
felt that it was going to be as well?
I thought we were just gonna get one in, they were gonna bring one.
They were going to pick one?
That's what I got out of it, and I mean, the first couple words pretty much say that.
Okay,
One
so I
teacher
think
from
it is
each school.
important that Dr. Hurst make sure he communicates that to
Okay.
to the schools, that's our intent, is not to come back with nominations, but to come back with a person from each site
A representative.
to represent them. So then the next part would be, I think that the board has the opportunity to just finish our part of it with nominations. I was gonna start, I'm gonna nominate Tony. So,
So how's
we wanna
that
vote
work?
on that?
You have to have a first and a
I
second.
don't
and then
need a vote,
or
I just
how
need a
does it work?
consensus if we feel that's one of the two.
I agree with that.
Okay,
I'll nominate Rob.
well, we're on Tony right now.
Oh,
We'll finish with Tony and then move on.
I thought you got your nods.
I got
Yes.
me, of course,
Yes.
then Jen, and you,
Yes.
okay. So Tony's one, and
I nominate
Mike
Rob.
nominated me.
If you're,
Is there any other nominations?
The
you're
one
available.
the one that's been that's been complaining about his workload since we got here.
Only the stuff you give me, Tony. I appreciate what Mike gives me. Any other nominations? So is the board in favor of me being on the committee as well? Okay. All right, so we have the two board members taken care of. Is there anything else that the board feels that we need to clarify when it comes to this policy?
I do have one, and on the
Can you talk into your mic, sorry?
This was just asked of me today, 5 community members with no ties to the school district. But as we call them, also owners. But could this be a property owner within the district, but not live within the district? But still has ties to the community and is very active in the community.
My impression on this, when you talk about an owner, this was my impression, that it doesn't matter even if you have ties to community, if you're paying taxes here and you have a say as a person,
property.
because this could come to a bond
But there's a
situation.
difference between paying taxes into the district and being able to vote into the district. That's two different things. You have to live within district boundaries to be able to vote. If you have property within district boundaries, you have to pay taxes, but you can't vote.
But you can influence a vote.
You could try that, yes, you're right.
You could be
So,
successful.
but there's two different things, is all I'm saying. There's two different things.
Yeah, that's
So I
a
think
good
we need to
point.
be very
I agree
clear.
with what you're saying, but if we had, to me, it'd all be about balance. If we ended up with, well, I don't think this is gonna happen, with 20 people that have all applied and none of them live in Othello, then I would have an issue with it. If there's
Mhm.
15 people that apply and one or two happen to be property owners that don't vote here, to me, I don't have a problem with that.
I tend to agree with Tony, so.
As well.
I don't know that we need to put some kind of specifics on that, but to say that really, and the survey, for people who want to sign up online, all it says is, do you have a child, or are you a guardian or parent of a child in the district? Do you work for the school district? What's your name? It doesn't even ask anything more than that.
Okay.
Then what about a parent that is an employee of the district but is not chosen by their school site, but they're still a parent? Or they're not a parent? Can they be a community member or a parent if
They
they're
cannot
already
be
an
a community
employee?
member because our policy says no ties to the district. They can be a parent, because
Okay.
it does not differentiate that.
'Kay.
From my view, it's just literally how it's written unless we want to change it.
Good questions. Are we clear, we think, on this? Okay. I guess I'm making up to do. All right, we're done with item B4. We can move on to item C1.
Don't you do each section at its own time now? You only have to
What?
make up this section. Once we get past this section, the clock
Oh,
starts
no,
over.
I have higher standards on myself. Item C1. Required approvals. I'll accept a motion.
I'll make that a motion to accept the required approvals.
Been a motion by Director Johnson to accept the required approvals.
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Any discussion?
I have some questions. Okay, this year, how many total teachers do we have within the district?
So Sandra and I received those questions, so Sandra and I are prepared to answer. Sandra, want to go ahead?
Did you ask those beforehand,
I
Jen?
sent many of these questions beforehand, so they were
Thank you. That's actually the
prepared.
way it should be. Good job.
So we have a total of 235 certificated staff. 29 are long-term subs. 3 of our long-term subs from last year actually received certification this summer, so we'd like to give them a big kudos. They're fabulous teachers. We had 2 at Scootney Springs, and then a SPED teacher at OHS.
So how many, I'm sorry, I should say, how many positions do we have district-wide for certificated?
254, right?
So that's total, yes.
254.
Yes,
If you take 225 plus 29, right?
yes, currently.
I'm
We
gonna
had
follow up that.
270 last year, did we not?
That's with your psychs and counselors, and that's all certificated.
Okay, how many all certificated then, I should say, I guess?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm asking, how many all certificated do we have district-wide?
With psychs
this
and
year.
counselors.
That's 254.
So last year we had 270 and this year we have 254? We're down?
Well, I think you're including certificated administration as well, that 270 number.
Okay. I guess I had just always been told 270, so I
Mhm.
didn't realize there was a
Yeah.
difference. Okay, so 254 is how many we need, right?
That's yes, certificated staff.
And we have 29 long-term subs. So we're down 2 long-term subs from last year. How many more teachers did we need this year then?
Are you
In terms
talking-
of percentages, I guess I'm looking at percentages. The percentage of long-term subs that we had last year was 11 and a half.
Mhm.
Oh, I was looking at the 270 though, not the whatever the other number was. So that number is much higher then. What percentage of long-term subs do we have this year?
12%.
Do you know what last year's number was?
I don't. I can get you that number. Not percentage, but we had 32 long-term subs.
12% this year. What And then you are doing exit interviews for those
Yes, they take,
staff that do leave?
for the staff that leave, they take an exit survey via SurveyMonkey.
What percentage would you say actually fill it out?
About 90%.
Are you seeing trends in that?
We had a few that were relocating to the west side, a couple spouses that were relocating, and then we had a couple that said K-8.
And then for those that you offer a position to,
Mhm.
but they decline to accept, do you have a way of finding out why?
We always ask why they're at the time of rejection. So
Okay.
why are you declining our offer? So we had 3 that rejected. One was from the East Coast, so rural was not for his family. So that's good to know that beforehand. And then another was from Royal City, and she was just making her home there. So we had a 3rd that rejected, and it was just not a grade she was interested in, but we were able to find another grade and put her in that spot.
Okay. I need to make sure I've got.
So
all
Jen, I
the
guess I gotta
lists.
let you know, it's getting super operational.
Okay.
If it was
I'm
tied to
just
policy in
concerned
some
about the
way-
percentages of long-term subs,
And you actually,
district-wide.
you can ask these questions as much as you want, but in our board meetings, when we're trying to stay policy-driven, that's where my concern would be. And if we had policies that specifically talked about the exit interviews and those kind of things, then I would say, yeah, this is an appropriate discussion, but the specifics, I think, of the question, the board, jump in if you think that it's not, that I'm off track here, but those questions you absolutely can ask, but when it's in the board meeting and taking up board time for operational, we're going away from what we're trying to do, in my opinion.
My only comment would be is, we have an EL 4. Says that the superintendent shall not fail to employ the highest quality staff at the most reasonable cost. If your questioning is because you feel like in some way the superintendent is not employing the highest staff that he can, then I guess that is policy driven.
And I would say.
But asking percentages to me doesn't lead into anything like that. It'd be more of,
And even if it's that, and it could be that, and that's fine, but you should actually say, based on EL4, I have some questions.
Based on EL4, I have some questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just not following the questions.
Right.
to
It
know
would be
how
really
it's-
interesting, because I know that there is a shortage of teachers statewide, district-wide, nationwide. It would be interesting to know other districts around us or other districts that are similar in size. Do they have similar percentages? Are our percentages higher? Those kinds of
Yeah.
things in terms of our long-term subs. And then because we finished our contract negotiations so early and our numbers were very favorable to teachers, was there things specifically that were done to try to capitalize on that favorability at that time to fill those positions that were open at that time?
So I think, the district was very fortunate to be one of the earlier districts to ratify on July 23rd. But for new teachers, those newcomers that are coming out that are trying to secure jobs, they actually sign as early as January. So negotiating contracts in the summer is still late. And so then those other teachers that you had that are employed, they're waiting on see what their district is going to do. And so we were just in a weird place this summer, but I think that we have some great ideas for this next school year to capitalize on that and take those moves in December and January.
Great, thank you. And if you could get back to the entire board for percentages for other districts,
Mm-hmm.
that would be really valuable,
Okay,
I think,
definitely.
for us to see. That's all my questions.
Any further discussion? Motion is on the table to approve. There's been a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item, C2, is superintendent comments. Dr. Hurst has several items in there for information. Is there any Questions for clarification from Dr. Hurst? Okay, we'll move on to item C3, which was pulled from required approvals, 2018-19 non-PSE classified salary matrix.
Accepting a motion now?
Sure.
I move that we approve the 18-19 matrix for non-PSC classified staff.
Been a motion by Director Stevenson to approve.
I'll second it to get things moving.
Second by Director Ashton. Any discussion?
Yeah, in the criteria, I think it is, there shows some incentive. Are we just approving the base and not the incentive portion of this, Chris? Or, because the matrix that we're approving doesn't show the incentive pay that I can find in here unless it's included somewhere and I don't see it.
We are approving both the base, which is bringing everyone up to the average, and then also the incentive. Was that put in there, Sandra?
So that 5% was only included in the contract. It's not on that matrix, so that was an oversight.
And my next question is this something that we're approving because it's a WAC to approve, or does this require board approval? Or is this an intention to be in compliance with our policy?
Compliance with the policy.
Okay. And I'm assuming that this was done after the numbers where we saw that 81% of our budgets on staff. Do you know what percentage this increase changes that to? If the board ends up passing the policy that says 80%, we're already, my understanding is our budget's already above that. So I'm just curious if this was built into that budget already, or if this is gonna be an addition.
You have the answer, Sandra.
I believe this was built in as an assumption by the consultant.
So there's a motion to accept this as written, but then there's been an admittance that there was an omission. So just keep that in mind with your votes. All in favor?
Well, I just want to make a comment. If this is just here to satisfy a policy, it's one thing. If it's here because it's required as a part of WAC code, that changes my vote, because I'm not going to vote affirmative for something that's not correct.
Well, and if it's not, required approvals are for things that by law we have to approve. I think Dr. Hirsch just said this isn't have to be approved by law. Am I accurate? with that?
I didn't take the time to look up the RCW. Ken's our RCW guy. That newly designated.
Just now, trial by fire.
No, Ken always seems to know what the RCWs say, so it's, but I know you haven't had a chance to study it.
I haven't had a chance to look at it, but
Okay.
So are you proposing that we table?
No,
Well, there's a
already been
motion on the
decided.
table right now.
I'm not proposing anything. I was just restating to clarify with Chris that his interpretation is this isn't a required approval.
The motion right now is to approve the matrix. I think the discussion became about whether or not it's even required by law for the board to approve this. There was also discussion about an omission about the 5% incentive. Is there any more discussion? All right, so I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
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 So the motion fails. Is there any other motion?
If, I just want to make sure, if this doesn't hold up the teachers or the non-PSE salaries getting changed, if it's not something that has to be done by the board, then I don't see any reason to make an amended motion. If you feel like that maybe it could be a requirement of the WAC and you're not sure, then I'll make an amended motion.
The only thing where I would come into question is that the board is required to approve all contracts, I believe. That's what I could check into, so. I don't know for sure, so.
From my conversations with Rocky Hansen, the district attorney, she says the board approves the salary matrix, not contracts.
Salary. Okay.
Mhm.
So then the board does need to approve this then? To pay?
Most
staff.
likely, yes.
Okay. All right, then I move to approve the 2018-19 non-PSE classified salary matrix with the performance adjustments that are stated in,
In the contracts.
I'm looking for the document that shows it.
And does
Classified
it-
salary matrix written criteria.
Fiscal impact.
It's in both places. With the addition of the wording of item 4 of the 18-19 non-PSC classified salary matrix written criteria.
Okay, so there's been a motion by Director Ashton to approve with the addition of the 5% incentive. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to item D1. Board response to monitoring documents. So this is the Survey Monkey for EL5. So for question 1, I'm going to read the overarching policy, sorry. Financial planning for any fiscal year shall not deviate materially from the board's ends policies, fail to follow statutory requirements, fail to be derived from a multi-year plan, nor risk fiscal jeopardy to the district. Therefore, the superintendent, when recommending a budget, shall not cause or allow a failure to be consistent with the board's established priorities. That's the first part, and that was found, five board members found that in compliance. Second statement, a failure to provide a comprehensive summary format understandable to the board and community. All found in compliance. There was one exception and 2 comments. First comment was, I feel that a 120-page document is unreasonable and not understandable to many members of our community. When presented on August 13th at the budget hearing, it was a reasonable length, understandable and explained in simple terms. When presented on August 4th, it was valuable information in expanded form, but not under my definition of understandable to the community. There were many public comments about that at the time. Second one, the budget presentation was well thought out and in a format understandable by all. Thank you. I think both comments were that the budget presentation itself was understandable. One was about the summary budget, I think, right? The August 4th was not. It was that was a special meeting that we had for the board to go over. That was not a planned meeting calendared for as one of our budget hearings, right? The August 4th one? Okay. So does the board want to keep either of those statements?
Although it wasn't a regular meeting, it was still a meeting. It was still a board meeting.
Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Mike wants to keep one of them? Which one?
I'm in
Mike likes to
favor
have
of 2.
2? I've got 2 who would like to keep the second comment? Can I get a nod from you?
I agree on the second comment. Just a note on the first comment, it was 120 pages, but it was line item by line item. With a little bit of knowledge with the budgets, it wasn't hard for me. It was hard for the public a little bit, but I think it was corrected at the next meeting, very well presented
Yeah.
with a good breakdown of the
My issue,
24-page summary of it.
if you want to get into it, my issue with that comment is the board policy is clearer now than it was, but I think there should be both. But to say, I just don't agree with, because you could make the same statement in reverse, and if it was a 5-page document, and I could make a statement saying that it's not nearly enough information for a lot of members of our community. I mean, so that's a no-win situation to write it like that, from my view. Some people want 120 pages, some people don't. The idea of our policy is to have both, a comprehensive one and a detailed one for those that want the detail. So I'm adamantly against that statement, because I feel like that now you're directing the district to not provide details.
The detailed one, the 120-page one.
And
which
I don't
thought
think that's the road we want to go down.
Yeah.
I personally prefer the long one.
And it sounds like we've got 3 who like comment too, so I think that's the consensus. So, that one's in compliance. And then that would just be a comment. You agree with that? That's not even an exception, that's just a comment, correct? Okay. Question 3, plans for the reduction without approval of the board of the unreserved and undesignated general fund balance for any fiscal year to less than 10% of total expenditures. 5 found that in compliance. Maybe I can make this faster. The next one also, a failure to disclose new sources of revenue as well as new areas of expenditures when compared to the prior year budget. 5 found that to be in compliance. We can now move on to item D2.
So overall, it's in compliance with a remark. with a
Yeah,
comment.
just one comment, yep. D2, board self-monitoring. The first item on here is GP7. Organization of board meetings, conduct and order. If it's okay with the board, I'm not gonna read that entire policy.
It's okay.
Dr. Hurst and his staff tried to do their best to summarize this, because it was a little difficult to build a survey monkey off of, and this is the first time we've monitored this policy as it's written. So absolutely, if the board has some suggestions for how to do this in the future, we're open to it, but this was I think the best attempt to try to gather the information we needed. So board meetings will be scheduled in compliance with the law as deemed by the board to be in the best interest of the district and community. The board will function through regular business meetings, study sessions, sometimes referred to as board workshops, special meetings / board retreats, emergency meetings, executive sessions closed to the public, and exempt meetings also closed to the public. 4 found that in compliance. 1 found it in compliance with an exception. I believe this is the exception in the comments. There was 1 incident in the past 12 months. A special board meeting had to be canceled due to improper notification. I would say that in the question itself, the survey question, it doesn't seem like that matches, but if you go back up and see where the survey question was derived from, it does say that in that policy that we will give proper notice, and I believe that one was the one where it was not posted
on
within
the outside
24
announcements.
hours on the front of the district office, so. While I don't know if it's an exception to that question, I definitely would say I agree that that's an exception to the policy. That's one exception.
I know for sure I wrote that one, and to me, it's just, it would have been a lot worse if the board would have had the meeting anyway. At least the board, to its credit, the board was made aware that the notification wasn't there, the meeting didn't happen. I just felt like it should be noted in there so that it doesn't become something that happens often. It's the first time it's ever happened since I've been on the board myself. But we have to hold ourselves accountable, from my view, just as like we do anybody else.
And I totally agree with the statement and the compliance with an exception. I would say this would be a compliance with an exception for the entire policy. I don't necessarily know I'd change what I'd say about question 1 here, but I do like the comment. I think it needs to be noted.
Yeah.
That's my personal feeling. What's
Yeah,
the rest of the board
There
think?
wasn't really another place to put it.
I
No,
agree.
because it was
I
never
agree,
addressed in any of
because
those questions specifically.
The situation was addressed, and it's been taken care of, and I don't think it's gonna happen again.
It speaks to
least with
transparency. so
this
I'm
board.
okay with that.
So are you okay with not putting the comment in your
Oh,
saying?
no, I'm okay with the comment.
Okay.
No, I think we all want to keep the
Yeah.
comment.
Gotcha, okay. I'll give some direction to Leah in the end, how we want to write that. The required approval section enables the board to efficiently deal with matters that have been delegated to the superintendent, but by law must be approved by the board, or which are routine matters. Throughout the year, the board will attend to required approval items as expeditiously as possible. 5 found in compliance with that. Question 3, all board meetings will be conducted in an orderly and businesslike manner using Robert's Rules of Order, revised and updated 1993. As a guide, except when such rules are superseded by the board bylaws or policies. The order of business will be that indicated in the agenda. Any additions or changes to the prepared agenda may be requested by the superintendent or a board member and must be approved by majority vote of the board of directors present. Board directors present. The 4 found in compliance, 1 in compliance with the following exception. Comment is we have not always used this policy properly. We have not always waited until a request by the superintendent or a board member to add an agenda item. I think that was my comment, I think. No. As I thought about it, there are times when agenda items do need to be added last minute. Sometimes they're housekeeping things. And so if we're really following our policy on that, probably in the future, we need to make sure that we're doing it through a request and then a motion to change the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. That was my feeling on it. That's why I put the comment.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
think keep the comment.
Okay. Question 4, all meetings shall be open to the public with the exception of executive and exempt sessions authorized by law. While other items of business may be discussed at a special meeting, no final action can be taken on topics that have not been identified on the printed agenda. And 5 found that in compliance. So in the end, for the overall policy, I think it's in compliance with the following exceptions, and there'll be those 2 comments. Exception 1, exception 2. Would that be the
Yes.
right way to write that?
Yes.
Talia, was I clear on that? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item E1. This is the review, discussion, revision of current board policies.
We need to do GP 12.
CP12.
What, did I miss it again?
Yes, you did.
It won't take very long.
I apologize. Got a habit of doing that. Okay. The policy reads, a board member who receives a request or complaint shall follow the following process. The board member shall hear the request or complaint for general understanding of persons involved, date, place, and action requested. If necessary, repeat the issue back to confirm understanding. The board member should exercise caution in responding to the complaint or request. Board members should refer parents, employees, and others with complaints directly to the responsible individual closest to the situation, as provided in policy BSR 2. The board acts as a unit, and may inform the superintendent that they have done this. If deemed necessary, the request or complaint shall be referred to the superintendent for appropriate action. If a complaint potentially involves a violation of an executive limitation by the superintendent, it is to be referred to the board president and the superintendent for appropriate action. Well, we just answered it all together on that one, I guess, and 4 found in compliance, but only 4 answered it, so all found in compliance. the board feeling that this should be broken up into 6 different questions on a SurveyMonkey in the future, or are they good with it all being one? Okay. I know in the past we've said each bullet item has its own, or each number has its own question, right? So this one's an exception, I guess.
It'd be
Okay.
fine either way, but.
That would just so that Talia knew going forward. Okay, now I'm good to go to policy review, right? All of the items in policy review are final readings for the policies that were introduced or modified at the last board meeting. I'll accept a motion.
Do you want individual ones, so we can go through each one individual where they're all new policies, or do you want to blanket?
However you'd like to do them.
Okay.
Whoever makes a motion.
I move to approve E1-1, EL4 final reading.
Been a motion by Director Ashton to approve EL4 final reading.
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve item E-1, E1-2, EL5 final reading.
Motion by Director Garza to approve the final reading of EL5.
Second.
Second by Director Stevenson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I motion that we approve E1-3, EL7 final reading.
Been a motion by Director Stevenson to approve EL-7
I'd
final
like
reading.
to modify that motion. I move to approve EL7 with the formatting change when you open the policy where it says 1, 2, 3, and then it indents 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be 1, 2, 3, and then A, B, C, D. So I would move to approve with those formatting changes.
Can another person amend a motion, or does it have to be the person who did the motion? Robert's Rules of Order, Master.
The first one would have to die to be able,
Well,
or
I thought
she would
any-
have to.
I thought
there's no
anybody could
second,
amend
so
the
that
motion.
No,
but
if it hasn't
she
been
would have to amend
seconded, she would have to
So I
amend it.
think then, Jen, you would have to amend your motion based on what Tony
Okay.
brought up, if you agree.
I amend that we approve,
I second the motion.
I amend the motion.
I'd like to amend my original motion.
I like to amend my original motion, oh my gosh, that we change the formatting of the 1, 2, 3, 4 inset to A, B, C, D.
There's been a motion
Second.
by Director Stevenson to approve. There's been an amendment to the motion to approve with those formatting changes, second by Director Ashton. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Another formatting issue.
Is there really?
Well, it doesn't match the one we just talked about anyway.
It doesn't renumber though, so at least it's not confusing.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'll make the motion to approve EL10 in its final reading.
Motion by Director Johnson to approve EL10 final reading.
Second.
Second by Director Ashton. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5-0, sorry.
I move to approve GP 4.1.2. Final reading.
Is this a format it'll look like in the policy section? It won't have that cut off the table? Okay. Good.
Second.
Been a motion by Director Ashton to approve GP 4.1.2 final reading, second by Director Stevenson. Discussion?
Do we want under overall a space for comments? I know we talked about that at one point.
Sure.
So the motion is to approve it as written. Is that a request to put that on the Survey Monkey?
Yes. Yes, to add to Survey Monkey. Add the comments
Well,
under the overall
Survey Monkey
portion.
is written, so you guys decide how to handle this.
I can't
There's
amend,
been
I
a
can't
motion on
amend
the table
that.
to approve it as written.
And a second, right?
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion dies. Motion fails, sorry. Is there another motion?
I motion that we approve GP 4.1.2 with the, what's the
Addition.
word? Addition of comments under overall
Suggestions for future improvement,
or suggestions for future improvement.
just to
I
keep it consistent.
For consistency, suggestions for future improvements would be better.
I think there was a motion by Director Stevenson to approve GP 4.1.2 final reading with the addition of suggestions for future improvement at the end of the policy as it's written now.
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. There is no need for executive session.
Can I just under policy review,
Yeah.
can I ask a question for a future meeting? EL 20, since it's a new school year, if we could get an update on EL 20 in the future? Safety is a concern all the time, and it'd be nice to know the improvements that have taken place during the summer.
There's no EL 20, EL 16.
Yeah, 16.
16 now, excuse me, I got.
You're not asking to evaluate it, you're just
No, I'm
asking
not
for an
asking for
update.
just an update on it, and it would be good for us and the public also too, because it's always a question of the public on the safety.
So, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Hurst.
I was just going to say, I did meet with Greg Foltz today. We talked about EL 16. He is prepared to speak and just give us an update. However, he'll be more prepared. He asked for the first meeting in October. It gives him more opportunity to really get everything together to present to the board. Also, Amy Paris will be part of that meeting and Chief Shank. So we just discussed that today.
How's the board feel about that?
Great.
Sure. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So, item G1, upcoming events. You can see there's a few things here. First
Just had
day,
a question for clarification.
yeah.
I thought we weren't putting events in here that are on the calendar already. And now this time there's 3 events that are already on the calendar that are on here. I just wanted to make sure we're consistent.
Okay, I don't remember that discussion.
I thought that's why we not putting the regular board meetings in, because they're already on the calendar that we approved.
So first day of kindergarten is on our board calendar?
Nope, I said there was 2 items on here.
Oh, the
You
school
said
visit, I
3,
see what you're
but-
saying. School visit and, gotcha. That, I do remember. I was thinking, you were saying the school calendar when you
Sorry,
said that.
nope, the board calendar.
Does the board remember that as well?
I don't
Doesn't
know
matter
that,
at this
I don't
point.
know that that was a discussion in a board meeting. I think it was just a discussion of clarification I may have had.
I personally like them if they're not regular board meetings, but they're special board meetings or visits. I don't mind them being on there. It was the regular every second and fourth Monday ones that I hope we know about. So that's just my personal feeling, but we want to just give some direction going forward.
Just needs to be consistent.
What do you think, Jen?
I think it's good for the community to have those listed if they're not a regular board meeting.
Okay. So what's on there is fine, Delia, but,
So,
and I don't think we do, but no
playing
regular
devil's
meetings.
advocate, if we're putting them on there for the community, we're expecting the community to know when the regular board meetings are by going to our policy, and then we're saying at the same time, we're not expecting them to look at our same policy for these.
Okay, Devil,
I'm just confused.
you're right, but,
For me, it's for me.
right.
I like to
Right.
just be reminded. I need to be reminded many times, so. I don't need to be reminded about the second and fourth Monday ones, though.
I personally just disagree with it. I think we should either have them all in there, and then if it's approved by on our calendar. But I'm only one vote, so.
I think we got a
Like you said, I
consensus
like
of the.
it as a personal reminder
Okay,
that regular meetings are pretty much set, so.
that's what I thought. So, first day of kindergarten, August 28th. First day of pre-K and did they pronounce it ECAP? ECAP, which is another preschool program, September 4th. Hiawatha Elementary School visit, also on September 4th at 7:30 a.m. And September 10th would be the special board meeting, linkage with the community at 6 p.m., just before our regular board meeting.
And it says to be
Look,
determined, and it's here.
We have determined it. It is here. All right. Is there any other announcements or upcoming events that I'm missing there that the board has thought of? We'll move on to our Survey Monkey. Assessment of meeting. Last time we're gonna be using this one. While everyone's filling this out, I just want to remind Taylor, you and Isabel as well, when we have GP surveys, did you send those to them for?
You did the
Oh,
Survey
that's all
Monkey,
right, though. So when we have
Should be doing it.
GP policies, in the future, you'll be getting those because you have an opportunity to evaluate if you think the board is being compliant with the GPs. Yeah, regardless if they're here, they know the policy, they can read and determine, I think.
Awesome, thank you.
Is Taylor doing this as well?
She wasn't aware that her mentor's error.
Yeah,
Now
talk
she
about that
is.
too. Okay, so the agenda was well planned to focus on the real work of the board. 1 said good, 5 said commendable. The board followed its agenda and did not allow itself to get sidetracked. 5 said good, 1 said commendable. The board's deliberations and decision-making process were public. 5 said commendable. All board members participated in discussion. No one dominated. 1 satisfactory, 3 good, 2 commendable. Members listened attentively, avoiding side conversations. 1 said good, 5 said commendable. Any comments on that section? Nope. I can't see it on mine.
So one board member thought that it was awesome balance, and one thought it was okay. Three were in the middle.
Yep.
Interesting.
Governance principles review. Board actions occurred at the policy level rather than at operational level. 6 said yes. The board agenda referenced policy about each topic that was discussed. 6 said yes. If additional policies were proposed, the board started with a broad statement and became more detailed in a logical and disciplined sequence. 2 said yes, 4 said not applicable. I don't think there was any.
I'm glad this is the
Proposed,
last
right?
time we're gonna answer this question.
None were proposed on this. The board chair helped the board efficiently conduct its meeting. 6 said yes. The board supported the superintendent in any reasonable interpretation of his policies. 6 said yes. Weighted average 4.67. 2 said good. 4 said commendable. And no comments? Okay. I thought it was a very good meeting, board, good discussions. And since all business is concluded, meeting's adjourned. Please don't leave without signing the required approvals that I forgot.